Oh, hello and good evening. Another coaching session. This time we will talk about defining your own voice commands and controlling settings in your simulator above what simulator controller has to offer out of the box. So you can define your own controlling functions, your own commands for that, and that's the topic for today. As always, if you have questions, please jump in. This will be helpful for me to understand what's really of interesting for you. But okay, now let's start. And I first want to, yeah, repeat a couple of things which has already been mentioned in the other coaching sessions, but we need a fresh memory, so to say, to understand the whole concepts of voice triggers, commands, actions, controller functions, and so on. To do this, I start simulator startup. Simulator setup, sorry. And yeah, while it's starting up, maybe all of you know that the race assistants can be controlled via voice commands, which are predefined, and most of you might have used them already. There is also the concept of an activation phrase to tell which of the assistants you want to talk to. And there is indeed a fourth dialogue partner, 3 assistants, and one which is the simulator controller itself. So you can talk to the simulator controller and give voice commands, which we will see in a few minutes, to all the stuff a simulator controller has to offer. So you can control everything from your button box, from your Stream Deck, or you can control it by voice. And to do this, you have to activate the simulator controller as your target of command, the same as you have to activate one of the assistants. You say, hey Jonah, for example, to activate the race engineer. And you can also define an activation phrase for the controller itself, which is in this case is hey controller. We will use it in a few moments. So if you want to define your own voice commands, which can be handled by the controller itself, you must have also an activation phrase to target the controller. The voice commands can be defined here in the controller configuration. Before we look into that, I want to repeat the concept about the internal connections of an external trigger like a button box or a voice command, something which is called a logical function in simulator controller, which stands for a function which can be activated, and the so-called actions which can be bound to a function. An action, for example, is open the pit stop window or increase refueling by 5 liter. That is an action. If you want to trigger an action, you must have something like a trigger, for example, a press on the keyboard, or press on a button box, or a voice command. And there is a mediator in between, which is called a function, which can be understand it like the bridge between the trigger and the action. The reason why these logical functions are there is that the meaning of such a function can change upon context. For example, if you are not on the track, button on the button box may have a completely different meaning and thereby a completely different action than when you're on the track and you have the pit stop mode activated. So we are talking about three different things. One are the triggers, which initiate something. The second thing is the function, which handles this. And the third one is the action, which is, yeah, the thing to do. Let's start the simulator controller and let's show it here on the user interface of a button box. For example, this toggle switch here, this is this one, the two-way toggle number one. We can see it if we click here. One moment, please. Okay, need to go to the definition mode here. If we click here, it's the control switch with number one. So this is switch number one, two-way toggle. And in the running simulator controller, this definition of this window will create this preview, this button box preview. And yeah, the trigger is, for example, when I go to my physical button box and really operate the switch, which will then trigger a signal on the USB channel. This is the trigger. The logical function is the switch itself. And what you see here is, which is bound to this logical function, which is currently the mode selector, a switch between modes, between meanings here of the buttons on the button box. So once again, 3 levels. Okay, let's go to the trigger. As you can see here, there
Can I ask a question? Sorry,
yes, do.
You are using a toggle switch for multiple selections. So, am I correct that I'm seeing three? You said 3 modes on a toggle switch. So, which for me normally has only 2 states.
I have an on and an off.
Okay.
I can move it to it's a two-way toggle. So you can move it down or you can move it up.
Oh, so it's okay. So it's middle, up, and down.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't found a better picture for it.
Okay.
It's
I understand.
It's a two-way toggle, not a one-way toggle.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, as you can see here, the two-way toggle has 2 triggers separated by semicolon. And each trigger has 3 variants which can trigger this on or this off state. The first one here is the 3Joy1 is a notation for an USB trigger. On the third joystick, sorry, that's the name in the underlying system, the first button, this is the on state of this two-way toggle switch, and here on the third joystick, the 6th button, which will be the off state. I also have bound keyboard commands, in this case Control-Alt-B or Control-Alt-Shift-B. So I can also operate it from a keyboard. And that's the interesting stuff, it also has a voice command, next mode or here previous mode. And I will do this now. Hey controller. It gives you a notification that he's has understood you. It's only a short beep, and now I give the command. Next mode. And you see the button box mode has switched here. So this is something you can do for any of the predefined controller buttons. And thereby you can control everything, which you can also control via your button box or your keyboard, also with voice commands. This has been covered already by one of the other coaching sessions. It was just a repetition to introduce the concepts. By the way, if you want to edit this, assign multiple hotkeys, you will get a small dialog where you can input this stuff. And just to show it, the documentation for all of this can be found in the wiki. Let me just close it so that we have better view. And the wiki in the controller section for installation, you will find an overview of the hotkey notation. You can also jump to the detailed documentation, which is quite elaborative. There are many, many possible hotkeys which you can use. You can see here how to define voice commands, and that's it. I will leave it open because we next will have to use these actions area. Okay, so now let's come to the fun part. We want to define our own voice commands for functions which are not part of simulator controller out of the box. For example, you want to have a voice command to switch the lights on in your car, or switch the wiper on or off while you're driving. I will now use simulator configuration, the low-level configuration tool. And what we can see here is I prepared something for you that you in the controller section, you don't only have the predefined functions which might be used for button boxes like two-way toggle, buttons, dials, and so on, rotaries, but you also have customs. Custom means this is something which you define, which are outside of the control of simulator controller. You say which kind of trigger will be connected with which kind of internal action. And now let's take a look here at this one. The custom function with number 21 connects the voice command lights with something which looks like a function call, hotkey, with the parameter L. L stands for lights, and it's the keyboard command in ACC to switch the light on or off, or cycle through the light stages. So if you define this custom function here, you have defined a voice command which triggers a functionality in ACC. How you can do this? It's really easy. You choose custom here, give a free number which is not already in use, define your command, for example, let's say start car, and then you have to know one of the action functions you can use here. And now let's take a look again at the documentation. There are a lot of predefined action functions you can use. For example, here is the hotkey, which takes a keyboard command you will want to send to your simulator, Or for example, another very useful one is this execute, which can you use to call any program to start any program or script residing on your hard disk. Or you can use any of the other predefined action functions, for example, start a simulation, enable vibration if you have vibration motors, open the pit stop dialog. For example, you can have a voice command open pit stop, which will open the pit stop dialog just if you want to check how much damage you currently have. And so on. So take a look of everything which is here available. And but we will see in a few minutes that we can go even further. Let's take a look again here at the definition, which is what is possible. For example, we have a custom function which connects the voice command wet track to the action function select track automation wet. Track automation, most of you will know this, let you define trigger points on your GPS coordinate on the track, and then when you arrive at this coordinate, you may, for example, switch to a different traction control level and stuff like that. And yeah, for sure, you will have different levels of traction control for dry track and a wet track. Therefore, we have predefined functions here to select between different track automations. You will identify them by name, the name which you have set when you have created the track automation. And doing this, you can switch between an automation for a wet track and an automation for a dry track by giving the voice commands wet track and dry track. Interestingly, you also see the same voice command as alternative triggers here for the custom function number 20. You can activate this by saying wiper. You can activate this by saying wet track. And you can activate this by saying dry track. And the action which is triggered is an Alt V, which is sent as keyboard command to ACC. And Alt V is the command ACC uses to toggle between wiper on and wiper off. So if I call wet track, the track automation will be set to wet, and also the wiper will be toggled. So when the wiper was off, it will be on now. Okay, to see this in action, I start ACC.
Just one question, Oliver.
Yeah.
The voice commands, I see single words and double words, wet track, 2 words.
Yeah.
Can they contain more words?
Yes, you can have a code sentence, everything you want to have.
Okay.
They are delimited by the vertical bars, and the question mark is the key that a voice command will follow here.
Yeah, okay, clear.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm starting ACC now. So let's put it on the screen. Sorry for you on Discord, you won't see it, but you can see the video recording later on. So start the simulator controller. And now I will go on the grid. Hey controller.
Stay double file.
Hey controller. Wet track. And the wiper is working. And oh, we have no track automation for Barcelona. Sorry, my fault. But you would have seen that it would have switched the automation to wet automation here. Sorry for that. Okay, so that's the concept here. You can name different voice triggers for the same controller action. The other way around is true as well. For example, if you have several actions you want to perform with one voice command, you can also concatenate here the stuff you want to do. For example, execute whatever D Programme Motec. Doesn't make much sense, but if I want to have Motec started when I'm running a wet race, it will do. So you can also trigger multiple actions with one voice command. Okay, but that's not all. That's the easy stuff for users without programming knowledge, but we can do even more. I think some of you might know that Simulator Controller has a kind of plug-in mechanism where you can define your own functions. And I have prepared something here. I have a small script which is named start car. Let's go through it. It defines a function which is named start car. It first sends Shift E to the simulator. Shift E in ACC is ignition on. Then it waits 20 milliseconds. Then it pushes the S key and holds it down for 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds. Then it sends up for the S key. S is the starter button, and you will know that you will have to hold the starter button until the engine is running. 2 seconds is more than enough, but 20 milliseconds will not work. The engine will go off again once the S key is released. Then I send the L for lights. Here I call internal functions of Simulator Controller, enable the team server, enable track automation. And then I want to set the mode here for the controller to the pit stop mode of ACC. I first get the instance of the controller, which is the main object of Simulator Controller. I find the ACC plugin in the controller, and I find the pit stop mode in this plugin, and then I tell the controller to set the active mode here for the button boxes to the pit stop mode. To test this, first I will deactivate the automatic activation of it's already deactivated. Normally I have checked that the pit stop mode will automatically activate it when I'm in the race session in ACC, but for the demonstration I switch it off. Okay. Where is it? And let's leave. No, let's stay in here. And the next thing we have to do is that we tell the, as I said, it's for programmers. I tell the build system that this script has to be included into simulator controller. So let's save this. Close everything. And by doing this, there is a special file in your simulator controller plugins directory in your documents folder. Normally this file is empty, but I added one line to include the script I just showed you. And now I recreate simulator controller. I run the build system, so to say, so that the binary of simulator controller will include this little function. I have to wait a couple of seconds here until it's ready. Okay. Compiled simulator controller ready. And now we create a new custom function, as we've seen before. Go to the controller section. Let's say custom 22. Start car, and this will simply call the now available global function start car. That's our custom function here. And save it, restart simulator controller. And we are going back to ACC. And hey controller, we're standing in the grid.
Stay double file.
Start car. He's starting the car. The light has been switched on. Track automation is enabled. And the connection to the team server has already also been established. You will see here the team session will become valid in a few seconds. Here it is. And all has been done by this short script here. Okay. I will quit ACC now. And there is one last thing I want to show you. We have used the low-level configuration tool here, and that is okay while you are experimenting and defining your voice commands. But as you might know, the wizard is the configuration tool, which is much more user-friendly, and you want to stick with it as long as possible. And we can define custom functions here as well, but not with a point and click interface because it's low-level stuff. But I will show you where you can do it. the trick here is you have here the so-called presets, and two presets of them define patch files which will be included in the generated configuration in the end. And one is named names and voices of the assistant, but because this is the most obvious usage of this patch file. But you can also include your custom controller functions here. If you double click it, you will have, and most of you will have here, the two sections where you rename your assistants, define your preferred voices for them. But this file in the end is added to the overall configuration, and you can also do a lot of other stuff here. For example, you can introduce your own controller functions here, which will also be added to the configuration. And that's what I've done here, as you can see. It's more or less the same what you do with the low-level configuration tool. What you enter in the trigger section is custom.number.call equals and then the trigger. And the action is custom.number.call action equals and then the stuff you want to trigger. So that's it. Hopefully useful for some of you. The possibilities are endless here, but as always, it looks a little bit complex in the beginning, but you have full control and you can script everything using this mechanism and trigger it by voice without touching any button or keyboard command or stuff like that. Any questions?
No, quite advanced, but but clear, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, very useful is the switching of the track automation. If you're running an endurance race and you have lots of automation for your car defined, you will definitely have different sets of automations for different weather conditions. Also, for people who are using virtual reality, there are really, really useful voice commands to control aspects of the car, like wipers, lights, anything else. And for the real advanced of you who are capable of at least understanding a scripting language, the possibilities with including your own plugins into Simulator Controller are really endless. You have full access to every functionality of the framework, and you can do almost anything here. Okay, fine. Then that's it for today, and see you next time.